No, we're not trying to top that. Let me say this. First and foremost, we thank the Eastern Civic Group. Let's give everybody a gift. We thank you for your commitment to Eastern North Carolina. We know the roots of the Eastern Civic Group, and this group has been around for a long time. And to Fred Yates, let's give it up to him for Now, Fred, I must admit, you put the congressman on the spot. And I often call on him for different things, but now I know I need to call on him for singing lessons. But my friends, this is what I really would like to convey to this group. Thank you for being that voice along the way. We're here, as we often have come, for interviews of candidates from both parties, all parties, to give them a voice to actually share their thoughts about Eastern North Carolina. But what I want to convey right now, briefly, is my deep appreciation for the Eastern Civic Group, because along the way, when we're legislating, when we're governing, and those conference calls you come on to and the meetings we have, they are very, very important, they're critical, and they're helpful. With that being said, I just want to speak more so on issues that I think are critical to Eastern North Carolina. One in particular, and this senator right here, Senator Erica Smith-Ingram, you should give her a hand. Stand up and give her a hand. That's right. And I'm going to tell you why I ask you to stand up, is you really don't understand the dynamics of Raleigh. But we have to stand together in Eastern North Carolina on all of the issues, regardless of where our district lines and boundaries are. And do know this and understand this, we are together. One of the fights that we stood together on is when we talk about renewable energy in Eastern North Carolina, and this, it was actually really a horrible bill. In the end, I ran a lot of amendments trying to help clean it up some. Senator Smith-Ingram ran really a critical amendment on the bill that was rejected. But if the amendment was actually accepted, it would have probably truly cleaned up the bill. But what we have to be mindful of is an overreach. Now, I'm an Air Force type person, and I have Seymour Johnson in my district. And I'll be the first to say that. And we have to protect our military installation, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of only when BRAC is going to come around again. But you can go to the extreme. And the bill that came out of the Senate at the end of the day was extreme. Do know we're fighting on this issue, and we'll continue to fight on this issue. A second issue is education. And I want to be clear, there's not been a greater champion trying to push early colleges in the state. But I want to also convey this thought. Look at the data, what the data is telling us. And I'm just hitting on some big picture things real quick, and then we're going to leave. But when we look at the big picture, we should all have a tremendous concern when nearly 30% of enrollment has declined in our schools of education across the state of North Carolina. And it's really the result of a couple policies, phasing out the Teacher Fellows program, as well as getting rid of the supplement, where we would pay educators to go and get their master's and a doctor's degree and come back and continue to teach in those areas. When you have a 30% drop-off of students that are going to school to be teachers and continue to develop in that area, and we already are experiencing some teacher shortages, I foresee if we continue down this line a tremendous teacher shortage gap coming. And I think it's a matter of time. And unfortunately, the way government works is it's going to have to be here, hit us hard, before we now try to respond to it. And this is what my concern is, my friends, and why I raise this as a critical issue. Because as we wait, and then when it hits to the extreme, it's our kids who are suffering.
Yes.
And going to suffer until we can fix it. Just imagine years of kids who are suffering from whoever substitutes coming in and out, all kind of things. We have to, along these same lines, we have to continue to push and be a voice to get kids off our waiting list for early childhood. This has been going on too long. We know that early childhood works. We know that those early years, those earliest years in learning are the essential, most essential years, and we as a state are sitting back looking and saying, well, I mean, we'll just wait until they are school age and bring them into kindergarten or whatnot. I mean, we have to do a better job at pre-K, and actually, I would say even beyond, because North Carolina have been fortunate to have some 3 schools where we're actually bringing 3-year-old kids in who are at risk and actually exposing them at the earliest ages of early childhood. We need to head that direction. And one other thing in terms of education I want to talk about is our HBCUs. Elizabeth City, everybody here, hear me loud and clear. We have to stand up for Elizabeth City State University. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. And I'm going to share, I think one of the most egregious things happened this last session. And that's when we rolled out this bill to, in a way, saying that we're reducing the tuition to the $500. At the way it was done is the question and the objection I take to the whole matter. Essentially, and I'm going to speak now, East Carolina's in my district. Okay, I pick up around the university and so forth. I see the fight and the struggle every year going for the Brody School of Medicine. Okay, the Brody School of Medicine. Did y'all hear that? I know what the fight is, and guess what? We didn't even get the full funding needed for the Brody School of Medicine. So the day you set tuition at $500 and totally rely on the state to pay the difference, there's 2 things I would say. Number one, you need to go get a chaplain, go talk to a preacher, and pray, have that preacher pray that there's never a recession that comes back to the state of North Carolina again. Think about what I just said there. The second thing is you need to go hire a lobbyist that's going to come fight every year in and year out for those dollars. Now, I believe our chancellors began to, and our chancellor was a leader in this issue, to move towards a buy-down scenario. A buy-down is simply saying we're not going to lock and fix the tuition at $500, but basically the state will come in, provide the difference. You maintain your current tuition, but if for some reason the state didn't honor its part, you will still be able to generate the full tuition. Well, what they did is the first bill that was rolled out that had the $500 scenario, it was actually, everybody came and rallied. There was a lot of pushback. So interestingly, what they did is took the language from that bill, put it in the budget bill, and then just embedded the words buyout. There's no buyout in the way it rolled out. No buyout in the rollout. Let us be clear about that. We need to come back and get this corrected in this upcoming session. I mean, it's not due to set forward, but I'm going to wind down on this, but these are important issues to Eastern North Carolina, in my opinion, that we need to continue to talk about and be champions for. But as we talk about this issue in itself, I recall being in a committee meeting, and you have to hear me on this, because they're talking about rolling this money, and I believe Elizabeth City State University personally was used, because there was 2 things that were said when they rolled that out. They said they were doing it to move back towards the protection of the North Carolina Constitution, the obligation to provide free to practical tuition to all of our students. So I'm scratching my head. They said we've not honored the state's constitution. Here it is. We've not honored the state's constitution. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and pick schools to try to honor the Constitution. Now, explain that. Explain that. It makes no sense to me. The second thing they said was we're rolling this out because of enrollment issues. Well, look at the three schools, Western Carolina, Pembroke, Elizabeth City. The truth of the matter is, I asked a question. I went to the general administration. I'm just curious, what's the maximum capacity of Western Carolina University? Actually, they've been trending towards constant increases in enrollment, and they're nearly 90-some% at capacity. And if you look at the dollars, the majority of those dollars were due to go to Western Carolina, not Elizabeth City. So we need to just be mindful of this issue. We need to continue to unite around this issue. And the biggest thing that I'll convey, and this is what I said on the floor, we have to be mindful of what we're doing and saying in Raleigh. It is unacceptable. One year, a senator comes out in the News and Observer saying we need to close 2 schools in the system. Y'all remember that right away. The buzz was Elizabeth City. Overnight, we had nearly 10,000 signatures on a petition. That's a true story. The next year, we come out in a budget bill in the committee, and there's a provision to study closing the school. Okay, push back again. We finally got that cleaned up and taken out. I remember saying in the committee, why are we studying closing versus studying how to help a school be successful? The third year, a Board of Governors member comes out and says, we need to right-size the system. What right-size code language for, again, closing schools? This is the third year. Then the fourth year, we roll out this scenario on this $500 tuition. This is the point that I'm making, and this is what I said to my colleagues. How many of you, and I just talk straight up, how many of you want to send your child to a school that the state government is talking about closing year in and year out? Seriously, think about that. How many of you want to send your children to a school that the state is talking about closing? I said, now, instead of trying to figure out, yes, we need resources, but the one thing that we can do to help this situation is close our mouths and stop talking this stuff. And the other thing I really believe we all need to do is pack up on a bus, everybody in General Assembly, and go to the university and thank every student that stayed and remained committed to the school. I really believe that.
Yes, we do.
But now, we have to continue on. This is the last issue I'm going to talk about, and I promise I'll sit down. And that's Medicaid expansion, y'all. When we talk about the challenges with health care, having access to a health provider, but not only that, if you look at health care and expansion from a business model, some of my colleagues want to run state government like a business, then guess what? You're talking over 40,000 jobs tied to health care expansion. If you want to connect to a personal aspect of this, what's good for people, we're talking over 300,000 residents of North Carolina with no coverage. And my friends, I'm looking across this room, we can't be more committed to this because you know and got to know that a vast majority of those are in eastern North Carolina. These are things that we must continue to speak up on, stand up on, and thank God we have the Eastern Civic Group. And I want to thank you for taking your time to come on this Saturday, to listen, to interview candidates, to scrutinize them, so that after November 8th, we can get back to work to start taking care of these issues. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you're going to do in these next 30 days to get people out to vote and to stay focused on the issues that matter most to Eastern North Carolina. Thank you much. God bless you. And I apologize for taking so much time, but I really believe those issues are of utmost importance, and this organization is of utmost importance to those issues.
We needed that.
Thank you.
We don't need an apology, Senator. You two are God.
Thank you.